どうも、勝手に電力2.0始めたいと思います。今日は1002回目ということで、このワールドエナジートランジションアウトロック2023というアイリーナが出しているところですね、この1.5度パスウェイっていうところを、少し要約みたいなところをですね、見てみたいなと思っていますと。で、実際これもバードに要約してもらったんですけれども、このアイリーナ、国際再生可能エネルギー機関の2023年のエネルギー移行展望と1.5度経路は、世界が気候変動1.5度に抑えるためにはエネルギーセクターに大きな変革が必要であることを示していますと。報告書によると、2050年までに世界のエネルギー需要は2019年から30%増加すると予想されています。これは主に新興国の開発途上国の経済成長と生活水準の向上によるものですと、この需要を満たすためには、再生可能エネルギーが大きな役割を果たす必要がありますと。報告書によると、2050年までには再生可能エネルギーは世界のエネルギー供給の80%を占める必要がありますと。これは現在の38%が大幅に増加することになりますと。化石燃料への依存を減らすためには、投資の大幅な再配分が必要ですと。報告書によると、2050年までにエネルギーセクターの投資額は年間2.5兆ドルに達する必要がありますと。これは、現在の年間1.3兆ドルから大幅に増加することになりますと。この投資主体部分は、再生可能エネルギーに費やされる必要があります。また、エネルギー効率の改善にも投資する必要があります。エネルギー効率の改善は、エネルギー需要を削減し、再生可能エネルギー必要性を減らすのに役立ちますと。政策面でも大きな変化が必要です。報告書によると、気候変動を1.5度に抑えるためにはエネルギーセクターに価格シグナルを導入する必要がありますと。これには炭素価格や再生可能エネルギーの支援金が含まれます。また、エネルギー政策の調和も必要ですと。これにより、市場がより効率的に投資が促進されますと。報告書は、気候変動1.5度に抑えるためにはエネルギー部門の大きな変化が必要であることを示しています。しかし、それは可能であり多くの利点がありますと。再生可能エネルギーへの投資は雇用を創出し、経済成長を促進し、汚染を削減することができます。また、気候変動による被害のリスクを軽減することができますと。世界は気候変動を1.5度に抑えるための行動を起こす時が来ています。エネルギーセクターは大きな役割を果たす必要があり、変化を起こすための投資と政策的支援が必要です。みたいなところで、バードの方は役を出しているのは合ってるかわからないですけども、こんなような役が出るので、それなりにですね、それらしい文章になっているのかなと思いますと。じゃあ、確かめてみましょうと。Current pledges and plans falls well short of IRENA's 1.5 pathway and will result in the emission gap of 16 gigatons in 2050. Nationally determined contributions NDCs, long-term low greenhouse gas emissions development strategies, LTLEDs, and net zero targets, if fully implemented, could reduce carbon dioxide CO2 emissions by 6% by 2030 and 56% by 2050, compared to 2022 levels. However, most climate pledges are yet to be translated into detailed nation strategies and plans, implemented through policies and regulations, or supported with sufficient funding. According to IRENA's planned energy scenario, the emission gap is projected to reach 35 gigatons by 2050, underscoring the urgent need for comprehensive action to accelerate the transition. もっとやっていくべきだってことですね。Also, global investment across all energy transition technologies reached a record high of USD 1.3 trillion in 2022. Annual investment must more than quadruple to remain on the 1.5 pathway. なので1.3トリリオンから4倍にしなきゃいけないと。Cumulative USD 150 trillion in required to realize the 1.5 target by 2050, averaging over USD 5 trillion in annual terms, compared with the planned energy scenario under which a cumulative investment of USD 103 trillion is required. An additional USD 47 trillion in cumulative investment is required by 2050 to remain on the 1.5 pathway. Around USD 1 trillion of annual investment is fossil fuel based on technologies currently envisaged in the planned energy scenario must therefore be redirected towards energy transition technologies and infrastructure. The energy transition is off track. The aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic and the ripple effects of the Ukraine crisis have further compounded the challenges facing the transition. The stakes could not be higher. Every fraction of a degree in global temperature change can trigger significant and far-reaching consequences on natural systems, human society, and economics. Achieving the necessity correlation is the energy transition will require bold, transformative measures that reflect the urgency of the present situation. Current pledges and plans fall well short of IRENA's 1.5 pathway and will result in an emissions gap of 16 gigatons in 2050. Nationally, determine contributions NDC's long-term low greenhouse gas emission development strategy LTLEDs and its target, if fully implemented, could reduce carbon dioxide CO2 emissions by 6% by 2030 and by 2050 compared to 2022 level. However, most climate pledges are yet to be translated into detailed national strategies and plans, implemented through policies and religions, or supported with sufficient funding. According to IRENA's planned energy scenario, the emission gap is projected to reach 35 gigawatts by 2050, underscoring the urgent need for comprehensive action to accelerate the transition. Also, global investment across all energy transition technologies reached a record of high. It is. Cumulative investment between now 2030 need to total USD 44 trillion, with energy transition technologies representing 80% of investment, or USD 35 trillion. Total cumulative energy sector investment in the planned energy scenario until 2030 at USD 29 trillion, and additional cumulative investment of USD 15 trillion, or annual average investment of USD 1.9 trillion would be needed in the 1.5 scenario until 2030. Furthermore, a change in the volume and types of investment is required under the 1.5 scenario to prioritize the energy transition and set the stages for dramatic decrease in the fossil fuel share by 2050. This is a figure. Total investment by technological avenue from 2023 to 2050 for achieving the 1.5 scenario. Cumulative energy sector investment, this is very high, up plus 47 trillion or 1.7 trillion per year. Existing renewable power targets would increase total renewable power capacity to 5.4 terawatt by 2030, representing less than half of the 11.2 terawatt needed for a 1.5 pathway. There is a significant scope for aligning and strengthening targets in the short term to provide policy clarity and certainty. In many cases, targets in national energy plans are yet to be aligned with those in NDCs. In addition, targets should be measurable and cover end uses beyond power. Of the 183 parties with renewable energy components in their NDCs, only 143 had a quantified target, 108 for power and 31 for heating and cooling, transport, or cooking. Some progress is being made, notably in the power sector, with renewable representing 83% of capacity additions and reaching 40% of installed power generation globally in 2022. A total of 295 gigawatts of renewables was added worldwide in 2022, the largest ever annual increase in renewable energy capacity. The strong business case for renewables, coupled with supportive enabling policies, has sustained an upward trend in their share of global energy mix. However, overall, deployment remains centered on the limited number of countries and regions, with China, the European Union, and the United States accounting for 75% of capacity additions. Also, large-scale development of renewable energy are typically associated with countries that have well-developed power systems. It is essential to expand deployment elsewhere, especially in developing nations that lack access to electricity. Figure 2, annual power capacity expansion 2022. It is 22 and 15%, and 2022 and 83%. Very increase. Renewable energy investment remains concentrated in the limited number of countries and focused on only a few technologies. Investment in renewable reached USD 0.5 trillion in 2022. However, this is less than one-third of the average investment needed each year in renewable under the 1.5 scenario. Furthermore, in 2022, 85% of global renewable energy investment benefited less than 50% of the world population, and Africa accounted for only 1% of additional capacity in 2022. Investments in off-grid renewable energy solutions in 2021 amounting to USD 0.5 billion, far below the USD 15 billion needed annually to 2030. While many technology choices exist, most investments were in solar PV and wind power, with 95% channeled towards these technologies. Greater volume of funding need to be flow to other energy transition technologies such as biofuels, hydropower, and geothermal energy, as well as to sectors beyond power that have lower shares of renewable in total final energy consumption. Every year, the gap between what is required and what is implemented continues to grow. IRENA's energy transition indicators show significant acceleration is needed across energy sector and technologies, from deeper end-use electrification of transport and heat to direct renewable use, energy efficiency, and infrastructure additions. Delays only added to the already considerable challenge of meeting IPCC-defined emission reduction levels in 2030 and 2050 for 1.5 trajectory. The lack of progress will also increase further investment needs and the cost of worsening climate change effects. Table 1, tracking progress of key energy system components to achieve the 1.5 scenarios. This is electrification with renewables. Share of renewable in electricity generation then 28% to 67% to 91%, very high. Renewable power capacity additions and 295 gigawatt per year and to 975 gigawatt per year. Last 2850, 1066 gigawatt per year, very high. Annual solar PV additions, 191 gigawatt per year to 551 gigawatt per year to 615 gigawatt per year. Annual wind energy additions, 75 gigawatt per year, 329 gigawatt to 335 gigawatt. Investment needs for RE generations, 486 US billion dollar per year to 1,300 USD per year. Investment needs for power grids and flexibility and 274 US billion per year to 548 USD billion per year. Direct renewables in end use and direct heat. Share of renewable in final energy consumption and 90% to 34%. Solar thermal collector area and modern use of bioenergy, geothermal consumption, renewables-based district heat generation, investment needs for renewables and use and district that here. Tracking progress of key energy system components to achieve 1.5 scenario, energy efficiency, energy intensity improvement rate, investment needs for energy consideration and efficiency, electrification, share of direct electricity in final energy consumption, passenger electric car on the road, investment needs for charging infrastructure of EVs and EV adoption support, investment needs for heat pump, hydrogen, clean hydrogen production, electrolyzer capacity, investment needs for clean hydrogen and derivative infrastructure, clean hydrogen consumption industry, CC and BECS, CCU and CCS, CCU to abate emissions in industry, BECS and other to abate emissions in industry, investment need for carbon removal and infrastructure. Policymakers need to strike the right balance between reactive measures and proactive energy transition strategies that promote a more resilient, inclusive, and climate-safe system. Several of root causes of the current crisis stems from the fossil fuel-based energy system, such as over-dependence on a limited number of fuel exporters, inefficient and wasteful energy production and consumption, and the lack of accounting for environmental costs. An energy transition based on renewable can reduce or eliminate many of these. It is therefore the speed of the change that will determine the level of energy security and economic and social resilience at the national level and offer new opportunities for improved human welfare globally. More can be done in the short term. While the energy transition undoubtedly requires time, there is significant potential to implement many of the available technology options today. Upward trends in the deployment of these solutions demonstrate that the technical and economical case is sound. However, comprehensive politics are needed across all sectors to ramp up deployments, as well as to instigate the systemic and structural overhaul required to realize climate and development object. The global stock stake at the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference COP28 must serve as a catalyst for scaling up action over the following 5 years to implement existing energy transition options. Whilst planning must provide room for innovation and additional policy action, a significant scale up of existing solutions is paramount. For example, advancing efficiency and electrification based on renewable is a cost-effective avenue for the power sector, as well as for transport and buildings. Clean hydrogen and its derivatives and sustainable biomass solutions also offer various solutions for end use. Energy efficiency, electrification, grid expansion, and flexibility measures must be prioritized in the coming years. Energy efficiency in end-use sectors requires an average annual investment of USD 1.8 trillion under the 1.65 scenario. Electrification on end-use sector, hydrogen, direct use of renewable and direct heat will require an additional USD 0.75 trillion annually. Accelerated end-use sector electrification will need to be combined with the continuous drive to grow renewable power capacity, with an allocation of some USD 1.3 trillion annually. This growth requires commensurate electricity network expansion and modernization at the cost of USD 0.5 trillion annually. By comparison, cumulative annual investment in fossil fuel supply and power capacity in the same period would amount to USD 1 trillion, halving current trends. The period following COP28 will be pivotal for efforts to curb climate change and achieve the sustainable development goals outlined in the 2030 agenda. The energy transition is crucial for deliberating on economic, social, and environmental priorities. It is imperative for governments, financial institutions, and private sectors to urgently reevaluate their aspirations, strategies, and implementation plans to realign the energy transition with its intended trajectory. Table 2, short-term measures to deal with the energy crisis and accelerate the energy transition power sector. Adopt a power system structure that is conducive to high share of variable renewable energy, recognizing their techno-economic characteristics. This could include dual procurement of energy with long-term procurement through auctions and short-term flexibility market. Streamline permitting procedure for renewable power projects without compromising environmental and social impact assessment. Ensure public acceptance is fostered. better synchronize power grid expansion and other infrastructure developments with renewable power deployment to avoid bottlenecks. Design renewable energy procurement process to serve objectives beyond lowest price and consider design elements to distribute the risks of supply chain disruption among stakeholders. Design politics for self-consumption in the progressive way that supports equitable access to support for the deployment of solutions and distributions of social economic benefits. And